Welcome to another episode of Optimal Health for Busy Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Julian Hayes II, and let's dive right into today's topic, which revolves around discipline. But this is not just any type of discipline. We are hitting on discipline from the angle as it concerns your health. Now, you've probably said some of these things, or maybe you have heard some people say some of these statements here, such as, I'll never get out of debt. I'll never lose these 10 pounds. I'll never get fit. I'll never stop drinking, smoking, vaping, or what other addictions that you may have. I can't grow this business. I'll never learn this material. I'll never write that book. I'll never be good enough for someone. I won't be able to do this. I can't make more money. I'll never get to that level, and so on and so on and so on. You get the gist here, right? Now, a lot of these people that say this kind of stuff, they see discipline and willpower as some sort of superpower. You know, maybe these people that have this mythical thing called discipline, maybe they're just lucky and they have something that other people don't. But the good news when it comes to discipline is actually these people with the discipline, they don't have anything that you can't have. Now, the bad news, which to me isn't, but to others it may be, is that you're going to have to make some sacrifices to develop some discipline. You know, discipline is not something that we typically think of as being sexy and something that we, bring to the forefront of our attention or use and you see it on TV or anything. You don't see that. But discipline is very much a thing of beauty. Now, I read a while ago that discipline, when you think about discipline, we hear this word, but what exactly is discipline? Well, discipline is simply possessing the ability to stay motivated, to take action, and most importantly, to resist the temptation in the pursuit of the thing that you want and are striving for. And I think about a lot of things going on in the world right now. You know, if we look at the economy and financial sector, you can see that the markets have been going down. And maybe you're one of these people who continually invest in the market and you have aspirations of building up a certain type of portfolio. And maybe it's hard to stay motivated for you because you see things in the red right now. And there's a temptation to do a lot of other things that are probably not conducive in the long term when it comes to that. But before I go down that rabbit hole, I'm not going to turn this into an investing show. So now, that definition I read about discipline, stay motivated, take action, and resist temptation. That sounds so easy on paper, but some of the simplest things in life are actually some of the most difficult things to actually execute upon. You know, it's difficult, whether you're training for a marathon, losing 15 pounds, building 10 pounds of muscle. I mean, starting a fitness habit. You know, I met a gentleman in the gym this past week who's doing the 75 hard. And it's just something that reminds you that when you've been training for so long of just how it feels to be at the very beginning of your journey. You know, we can talk about building a business here. We can talk about investing, obviously, or any other goal. It's all of these things share a commonality in that it's going to inevitably contain some type of challenges. It's going to inevitably contain some type of frustration. It's going to, most importantly, contain boredom. This is the most underrated of them all. Often, boredom. Boredom has led so many people to stray from the path. Discipline is sexy, and it is rarely mentioned, as I mentioned beforehand, when people ask to highlight good things about themselves. But discipline is absolutely a necessity when it comes to your health optimization, when it comes to really living a limitless life. Discipline is a necessity. So with that said, let's dive into these 6 boring secrets that these highly disciplined, healthy people have. And so secret number 1 is how you feel is irrelevant. Now, before going in any further, when I say how you feel is irrelevant, this doesn't mean that your feelings are to hell with your feelings, or you need to suppress them, or you need to ignore these feelings. No, having healthy emotions, having healthy expressions is beneficial. But when I say how you feel is irrelevant, this is coming from the point of view of where you stop and ask yourself, how do I feel before taking any sort of action? If I ask myself how I feel each day before my training sessions, I wouldn't get very much accomplished. I did feel like running 14 miles this weekend, but I did it because it's part of the plan. It's part of the mission. And my feelings are irrelevant at that time because most of the time as humans, we're inherently lazy and we like to stay comfortable. So people with this high level of discipline, they don't let their feelings run wild. They don't let their feelings serve as their governor. When you let your feelings take charge, you can expect to only do things that feel good to you in that moment, which oftentimes is going to give you a lot of short-term pleasure, but it's going to give you also long-term agony. For example, here's a couple things. Do I feel like eating healthy today? Do I feel like going to the gym? Do I feel like going for a run? Do I feel like writing those 500 words? Do I feel like making those calls? Do I feel like sending those emails? When you sit there and you ask yourself these type of questions, odds are you're not going to feel like doing these things. Instead, something more pleasurable, something more immediately gratifying is going to come up instead that seems enticing. But oftentimes, that very thing will also place you further away from the very goal that you want. So secret number 2 here is freestyling can be dangerous. Now, I had someone recently tell me that I'm very regimented, very rigid. And I took it as a compliment because to me, when I hear those words, I think of someone who's very intentional. I think of someone who's very precise. And it's someone who doesn't let the randomness of the day get away from them. It's someone who's productive. But nevertheless, it is good to stay on your feet, to stay light on your feet. But consistently going with the flow puts you at the mercy of the ever-changing circumstances of life. And it ultimately, in a macro picture here, this is putting you in a reactive mode instead of a more optimal, proactive mode. Freestyling could mean that you're adaptable. That's true. You're adaptable to the situations. I get that argument. But typically someone who freestyles when it comes to their health, this is the type of person who's also going to have trouble consistently finding results and maintaining them. This is the type of person who they'll lose 10 pounds, they'll gain 10 pounds, they'll have 2 good weeks, then they'll fall off for 3 good weeks. They have no sort of consistency. It's a everlasting roller coaster. So highly disciplined, healthy people, they know the absolute value of good habits, structures, and routines as it creates consistency in known factors in an otherwise chaotic world. Now, business and these other areas of life absolutely can be unpredictable. But having a structure with your health practices, as opposed to just freestyling, brings some much predictability to your life, brings some certainty to your life. So let's move on to secret number 3, which is probably one I need to still work on. But it's don't be afraid to ask for help and to happily receive it. That second part, happily receive it. That is the part that when as I create these episodes, a lot of times I'm talking to myself as well. So I never wanted to come off as I'm just preaching and I'm just looking down on everyone, just giving sermons. A lot of times these are things that I need to remind myself. So I'm very much talking to myself. So one of the quickest ways to suffocate the potential out of your business and your health goals in general is to let pride and ego steer the ship that is your life. The lone wolf is a mentality. It absolutely takes a village to succeed and ultimately reach the highest of your potential. And this is something that I'm learning to this day still, is that yes, it's good to be highly skilled. Yes, it's good to be knowledgeable. But still who you know, the quality, the substance of your network and your relationships, that is going to help you get to the highest tier. So receiving help, and firstly, not feeling embarrassed to ask for it. What this does is fast track your success. Ultimately, when I think about business goals, I think about investing goals, any sort of goal, and the things that is required to do it, we do those things because we want the goal in general. So why should we feel embarrassed to ask for help if it's going to fast track our success? If it's going to fast track us for quicker financial freedom, if it's going to fast track us to optimal health, why would we feel embarrassed about that? And it's because there's a stigma about that. But part of being highly disciplined is to create an environment that supports and places you in the best position to succeed. Now, that environment absolutely needs to include mentors, coaches, peers, and relationships that nurture and accelerate your growth. So secret number 4 is to stay the course, because you could be 3 feet from gold. Now, 3 feet from gold is an excellent book to read. But the story comes of a young man during the gold rush and mining away at a Colorado gold mine for months on end. He quits. And here's the thing, though. The person after him received all the gold after only a few attempts. So the first guy did all the work. He was staying the course. He was doing all the work. He got impatient and he quit and left. And then the guy that came in after a few attempts, he got all the gold. And one of the most common causes of failure and just setbacks in general is having this habit of quitting when you're overtaken by a temporary defeat, a temporary obstacle, a temporary circumstance. So many of us, and myself included at times, as I reflect back, we quit when we're just short of hitting our goal. I've seen so many people, and actually before I even go further, I should say, when we quit so close to our goal, sometimes this is out of fear, but often this is because it's getting difficult. It's getting very uncomfortable. And we can just put a nice bow tie on this and just call this what people know as self-sabotage. But if you think about this, there's going to be some pain along the way. There's going to be some loneliness. There's going to be some fear. There's going to be some uncertainty. There's going to be some doubt along the way. If you simply add all these things up, when these things come into your life and you feel these things, whether it's in a health or a business goal or a personal goal, smile. I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive in the moment. Smile and say thank you, because these are signs that you are evolving, that you are growing. You're being forced to change for the good. But all in all, stay in the game. I think it's an investing lesson, right? That you never lose unless you sell and get out. So stay in the game, stay the course. The storm eventually passes. And let's move on to secret number 5. Avoid the shiny object syndrome. Now, many of us have heard the word shiny object by now, but as humans, it's natural. It's quite natural, actually, to be drawn to the next and the latest, greatest thing out in the world. There's a hot stock, a hot crypto, a hot fashion trend, and especially in the health world, there's always trends. There's always fads. One month, it's all meat. The next month is cutting all carbs, and so on and so on. It's so bitty that it's easily to get confused by, right? And you have this constant flow of ideas and temptations, and this can lead you to jump and hop to different things. And you'll never be bored, of course, by doing this, but you're also not going to get very far with that type of approach. Multitasking sounds good in theory, but it works well for a very few people, if that. I haven't really come across many people who truly thrive from multitasking. Multitasking is really an excuse for people who have a focus problem. And it's a telltale sign of poor discipline. And this is also a sign that you are too easily distracted, or that you're looking for an excuse to do the work, or looking for an excuse to have it be easy, to ease some of the perceived pain that you think you're going to have to experience, some of the perceived discomfort that you think you're going to have to experience. And lastly, is secret number 6 is do what others won't do so you can do what they can't do. And I'll say that again, because this statement has really had an impact on me over the last few months, especially. Do what others won't do so you can do what they can't do. When you have big goals, whether it's radically transforming your body, it's radically changing how you're going to age, it's radically transforming your relationships, it's radically transforming your business, your career, or your investments. And all of these things take time. All of these things take focus. And all of these things sure as hell take effort. And I say this again. I say it to myself to remind myself. And I say it to hopefully, once again, to really have this sink in, that you're going to have to sacrifice. And you are most definitely going to miss out on some things. This mission statement, as I call it, it's a reminder that investing in a workout that you do today, writing those words, sitting down at your desk today, completing that run today, calling that specific person, or any other task that you're doing, all of these things are really tiny deposits, tiny investments toward creating a richer and more fulfilling future. All of these things, especially when it comes to choosing to eat the right foods today, choosing to bypass laziness and get that workout in, you're creating generational health. You are most definitely creating generational health because you're adding in these tiny deposits that are going to add up for the future. Taking care of your health today, what it does, it ensures that you can move and that you can operate how few will be able to in their 60s, their 70s, damn sure their 80s, 90s, and beyond. Investing in your relationships today creates love, creates deeper levels of connection that later down the road, while others down the road, they may unfortunately feel lonelier or at least disconnected. Investing in your business, investing in assets today, when many are fearful, it may mean having to stay down a little longer, not doing the things that the masses do on the weekends or so. You don't want to do that anyway. You're built a little different. I know that because, you listen to this podcast. Doing all these things, really staying down, really making the deposits today, no matter how uncomfortable they are. This is granting you the freedom and the ability to live how many can't 5, 10, and 20 years down the road. So always maintain a long-term vision and operate with an investor's mentality when it comes to your health, your business, and your relationships. So as we land this ship here, a quick recap of the 6 boring secrets of highly disciplined, healthy people are: not letting your feelings guide your everyday behaviors, not freestyling with your health, but instead creating structure. Don't be afraid to ask for help and happily receive it. Stay the course because you could be 3 feet from gold. Avoid the shiny object syndrome. And lastly, and most importantly, and especially keep this point in mind with the way the world is right now and all the doom and gloom out there, really keep this in mind. Do what others won't do so you can do what others can't do. And lastly, boring is beautiful. Though it's boring, these impactful habits mentioned are going to help you create a healthier, a richer, a longer life, and ultimately lead to generational health and generational wealth. And so as always, stay awesome, be limitless, and never stop upgrading. Peace.